Okay, welcome back to game 2. In the first game, we saw AJ's Audino and Sharpedo kind of run over Drew's lack of setup. Well, actually, Drew did set up. He just never got any energy to attack. And now we're here in game 2. Hopefully, we'll see a little better game. Now, there's a giant glare on that card, which I can't really make out. But there's a Vulpix on the bench. Hopefully, we'll see what that is soon. Alright, it is a Cyndaquil. So, kind of assumed that's what it was, but wasn't sure. Drew has got a catcher in his hand. He's debating whether or not he wants to use it on Carvana, and there we go. You don't really want to bring up Audino because it can attack you. Maybe bring up Carvana, buy yourself a turn. But the important thing to note is Drew has nothing. Once again, he's got a pretty bad start, and AJ's got a collector. We see Drew didn't play a supporter, and we can get a clear view of his hand. So there were 2 rare candies, a rescue energy, and a black belt. These are not cards that are going to help him anytime soon. So Drew is in some trouble. Doesn't really have much. He's really going to have to top deck something. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. Now, we did see he opted to open with both Pokemon, which I might have rather seen him leave the Cyndaquil or leave the Vulpix in his hand in case he top decks a communication. That way he can communication for a Cleffa and retreat. But we are far past that now. I don't think there's any real threat for AJ knocking him out on the first turn besides Audino. And even if there was, Drew has the choice to go first. So I would rather see him keep the Vulpix. Just a small little thing. But let's look to the future. Now we do see AJ has filled his bench once again. And I do think this is a problem. If you look at his bench, there's an Unknown. That's not going to do anything. There is a Sneasel. Not really going to do anything. And there's a Victini. Not really going to do anything. So all we have are Audino, Carvana, and Zoroark that could be potential attackers. And that's just not really good because Audino, not reliable. Sharpedo doesn't do a lot of damage. So really you're just relying on this one Zoroark to take you the distance. Now Drew did play a Junk Arm and catcher out Audino. I'm not too sure why he did that, but I'm sure he is quite frustrated at this point. When you see he has one card in his hand, I guess a Sharpedo and a double colorless would have been pretty bad for him. He does have a rescue on Vulpix, so if Vulpix gets knocked out, he'll at least have another basic in his hand. And there's Sharpedo. And let's see, there's already 20 on the Vulpix, so AJ just needs 1 heads, and he can knock out this Vulpix. And there it is, powerful slap. Drew gets the Vulpix back because the rescue energy puts up the Cyndaquil. That is not a useful card. Puts down the Vulpix. He's going to be able to beat for 10, I think, and that's about it. But Drew's got to be feeling pretty frustrated at this point. You know, first game, nothing went his way. Second game, nothing's really going his way. And it looks like he actually forgets to attack for 10, which is a clear sign of frustration. Nothing really going Drew's way. He's got to top deck something, and he's probably got to do it next turn. If he doesn't, I don't like his odds for winning this game. We do have a Sage's Training for AJ. He's doing just fine. He's got Sharpedo up. He's got a Zoroark. He's got Audino. If he gets a double colorless this turn, odds are he will knock out Cyndaquil, just with Victory Star allowing him to reflip. Those are just how the odds work. I believe he would be likely to knock out Cyndaquil. But as it is, there's just 2 energy. So Drew will probably survive the turn without getting knocked out, making it so he has 1 extra turn to top deck. So this is actually a pretty big deal. We're going to see a powerful slap. Just 1 heads, and AJ is going for it all. But it actually turns out it'll bite him in the butt. He goes for the double heads, but he actually turns out with the double tails. He got greedy. He could have just taken the 40 damage, but he went for the home run. And that's what can happen with your flip cards. If you get too greedy, then you're just gonna get unlucky sometimes. That's kind of what it is. You live and you die by the flip. So Drew actually top decks a collector, and this is a very big turn. He had a switch in his hand, so he collected for a Cleffa and 2 more Cyndaquils, and this is exactly what he needed. He's getting a fresh hand of 6. He's going to be able to just refill his hand of 6, hopefully get some evolutions going. The main thing is he needs to get this Ninetales going, because against a Sharpedo and a Weavile deck, you really need to get Ninetales out and keep drawing through your deck. You need to get stuff out. You need to have a large hand size so you don't get messed up by Weavile, and you need to be able to recover from Sharpedo. So I hope Drew goes for Ninetales and gets it soon. He does have a decent hand. Hopefully AJ does not discard it with Sharpedo. That would be a disaster for Drew, but on the positive side, Cleffa did stay asleep, so even if Sharpedo does strip his whole hand bare, Drew will have the option to use Eek once again. So, got some decisions on AJ's end right now. Let's see, he's going to Catcher for Vulpix, and once again, this could be a big deal. He's going to attach a 3rd energy to Audino, and we're going to see a powerful slap, I would think. Just thinking over his options. Now, AJ doesn't have a whole lot in his hand. Oh, he does have an Oak's New Theory, though. I think he's contemplating playing a Seeker, maybe to pick up his Unknown, because that's really just going to be dead weight the rest of the game. Cards like Unknown and Weavile are cool, but after you use them once, they're just kind of sitting there for the rest of the game, doing nothing. At least Victini sits there and does nothing, or does something the entire game. And oof, we got a Claw Snag, and at first glance, I would say AJ needs to take that N without hesitation. There's just no other draw card for Drew here. He needs to take out the N. And if AJ were to have another catcher, he could catcher out Cleffa, knock out Cleffa, and discard the N, and there we go. He's going to Claw Snag the N. That was Drew's only real draw card. And looks like he's going to go for a powerful slap. Catcher would have been nice here, but he will take the knockout on Vulpix just as well. And whoa, looks like Drew top decked an N. So even though AJ just discarded one, Drew got one right off the top. So fortunate break here for Drew. He's had a lot of bad luck so far, but this was a nice little surprise for him, I'm sure. Now he's just got to decide, do I want to play an energy first? How do I want to go about this? He probably wants to play the N this turn, but there's nothing really in his discard pile that he would want to junk arm for, so I'll probably just play the N straight away, maybe play an energy. Just going to put that on Cyndaquil. No reason to really use Catcher on anything, and he's going to N, putting AJ at 4 cards, and Drew will get a nice hand of 6. He's going to hope for some evolutions here, hopefully a Rare Candy and a Typhlosion, at the very least a Quilava. And we'll probably see him Eek again, depending on what his hand is, so right now is a very big turn for Drew. He needs to put up some sort of fight. He can't just keep sitting here doing nothing, and ooh, that's unfortunate. Didn't get any sort of communication, Quilava, or Typhlosion with the Rare Candy. He did get the Rare Candy, but he's short the stage 2, so I would assume this turn he'll Eek once again. He really has no other option. He's going to Catcher out Victini, hoping to stall for a little time, and hopefully bench the Reshiram as well. Really no reason not to, and could be trouble if Cleffa gets knocked out. He would have nothing to really promote. After that, he could promote Cyndaquil, but that's not who you really would like to promote. So he's going to consider whether or not he wants to bench the Reshiram. I would like to see him do that. There's no real reason not to. You're going to need to put that down eventually anyway, so you might as well do it. And you can see he's really struggling with it. He doesn't want it to get catchered, but at the same time, I think it's worth just having on your field. I don't think he's actually lost any Reshirams this game, so there's no real fear of running out, but he decides not to, and he just ekes his hand into his deck. Maybe he's scared of something that I'm not sure about, but in that spot, I would probably put down the Reshiram. And Drew decides not to, though. He's going to Eek, and he stays asleep. So we're going to see him draw 6. And not the greatest hand in the world, but he does have a Communication and a Collector, so he will be able to get a Typhlosion out because he does have a rare candy as well. So now it's up to AJ to figure out what to do next. He's actually got to attach a double colorless to Victini in order to retreat. Now, double colorless in his deck is a very, very precious resource. It powers up Audino, it powers up Zoroark. So you don't want to use those unless you really have to, but he decides to attach. He decides retreating is more important than anything. He doesn't want to risk not having energy to retreat. So I can see why he would do that. It's just painful to see a double colorless have to go to waste like that. But this turn, I'm sure we're going to see a Strip Bear out of AJ. Either that, or if he has a catcher, he will catcher out the Cyndaquil with the energy on it and go for that with Audino. So one way or the other, we're going to see a major play come out of AJ this turn. A Strip Bear would be devastating if he could nail both heads and discard Drew's hand, but a catcher on Cyndaquil would be just as devastating. And this is going to be bad for Drew, I think, unless he can find a way to get a second Typhlosion out, get two Typhlosions out in one turn, and then Blue Flare for a knockout. I'm not liking his spot. The only other thing would be if Cyndaquil survives. That would not be. That would be a good deal for Drew. But here we go. Here's Powerful Slap. We got 3 flips. Looks like we got 2 heads, so that'll be a knockout. Cyndaquil goes down. Audino takes another victim. Drew draws. That's not a rare candy, but at the very least, he'll be getting something going here. After all this time, he's finally going to get a Typhlosion into play. You know, AJ's down to 3 prizes. This is not a good spot for Drew. Let's be real about it. Drew is down 3 prizes. He hasn't gotten an evolution out yet. He's got no energy on the field. He's got a Cleffa. That's going to be a free prize eventually. He's just not in a good spot. So he's going to Collector for a Vulpix, 2 Reshirams. Looks like he's out of Cyndaquils. 2 have been knocked out at this point, I believe. I'm not sure. Look, I think... no, actually, there must be 1 prized. Vulpix was knocked out twice because of the rescue energy. And then 1 Cyndaquil, so I apologize. Looks like there is a Cyndaquil prized. We're going to see a communication out of Drew. Puts down the Vulpix, grabs Typhlosion. It's a rare candy for it. And he's going to communication again. Going to shuffle in the Reshiram. Get a Quilava, I would think. Yep, there we go. And we're going to need to see him playing energy down somewhere. Probably Afterburner as well. That way he can set up for some sort of attack next turn. He wants to be able to Blue Flare next turn for sure. He's going to Eek for a fresh hand. And there we go. He's going to put 2 energy on Typhlosion. Probably the safest bet. Then he's going to catcher out Victini again. Not sure if I agree with that. You might want to keep Audino active. Save your catchers because you honestly need to catcher out Zoroark once your Reshiram comes out. Looks like Cleffa will wake up. And you're kind of walking into what AJ wants to do. He wants to retreat to Sharpedo. And he wants to Strip Bear this turn. There's no doubt about it. Strip Bear, you want to use it. It'll knock out Cleffa. And if he gets 2 heads, which is not actually too improbable with Victini, somewhere around 43%, something like that, that you will flip 2 heads if you're allowed to reflip. And here we go. This is a huge, huge momentum swing in the game. If Drew gets knocked out and loses his hand, he's going to lose the game. If he keeps his hand, he'll be good. So here we go. Strip Bear. This is huge. Will AJ flip 2 heads? No. Looks like there's just 1 heads. He's going to reflip. And oh, he gets 2 tails. So Drew keeps his hand. Cleffa gets knocked out. Drew's down to 4 prizes. Or Drew is down 4 prizes, but this is the chance he needed. He needed to keep his hand. He's going to play a Sage. Look at his top 5. And oof, it's not a pretty top 5. But he can work with it. He will get a supporter out of it. Probably take the Juniper, I would assume. So yep, gonna take Juniper. Has to discard 3 other supporters, which is not good. But he will get 2 Typhlosions out, and he does get a Reshiram. Looks like he's got pretty much everything. He's got a communication as well, I believe. So he can communication for Ninetales and then get that out. And honestly, I mean, it only took him 2.5 games, but, or no, 1.5 games, but he finally got out 2 Typhlosions and a Ninetales, and he's got enough to actually attack. So here we go. This is Drew's final stand. You just gotta hope that AJ runs out of gas. I mean, like I said, AJ, he had to fill his bench with stuff like Unknown and Weavile and Victini, so he hasn't been able to power up all these attackers. And I guess Drew's constant catching of the Victini made AJ waste energy to retreat over and over. So now he's in a spot where there's only 3 energy on Audino, there's 1 on Sharpedo, and 0 on Zoroark. So we're actually going to see Drew Afterburner to the active Typhlosion. Not sure why he's doing this. He might want to wait to promote Reshiram. Looks like we got some confusion here. I'm not sure what the problem is. Drew had not used Afterburner at all yet. It's kind of weird. There were 2 energy on that Typhlosion at the start of the turn. Looks like AJ convinced him that he didn't actually attach that turn, so that was a strange turn of events. Drew actually got robbed of 2 energy attachments that turn, so kind of a big deal. He didn't actually use Afterburner at all that turn, or an attachment, so that's 3 energy he should have on the field that his opponent didn't allow him to do. I'm not sure why Drew allowed that to happen. Maybe he thought his opponent knew better than he did, but at any rate, that is a big difference in the game. Not having 3 energy on his field, that could actually end up costing Drew the game. Now, he did decide to Flare Destroy the Sharpedo, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I might have been better off using Reshiram, just blue flaring, but this way, he's kind of safe. You know, he can't really have his Typhlosion get knocked out. There's nothing really on AJ's field that can do that. Maybe Audino, if there's a double colorless on there, could flip 3 out of 5 and get a knockout, but here all he's doing is letting AJ get another Strip Bear off, and that's no fun. If AJ were to flip 2 heads here, he might actually be in a good spot to win. If he discards Drew's whole hand, he might not be able to keep attaching from his hand. Right now, Drew does have 2 Typhlosions in play, but you need to be able to attach energy from your hand as well. So if Drew doesn't have a hand, that could be devastating. But once again, it's just going to all come down to the flips. See AJ playing some more stuff. Plays a Pokegear, gets a Seeker off of it. Not sure how relevant that will be, but he's going to do that. Something that could happen is he could play Seeker, and then Drew would probably take a Reshiram into his hand, and it could actually make his Strip Bear more devastating. So that's something he could do. Not sure if he played a supporter yet this turn. Maybe not. At the very least, it would allow him to pick up a dead weight Pokemon like Weavile or Unknown. So that would be useful. But AJ's probably got to be getting nervous. Even though he's down to 2 prizes, Drew is fully set up. He's going to bring out Typhlosion. He's going to go for a giant Strip Bear. And oof, 1 heads. If he gets 2 heads, this is bad news. And oof, Drew actually survives again without losing his hand. There's quite a few times he could have lost his hand. So, a little lucky in that regard, but also pretty unlucky that he took so long to set up. So, both players having good and bad luck go their way. And this turn, probably see Typhlosion either retreat or attack. Either way, they're going to be in danger of an Audino knockout, so I don't like Drew's spot so much. Especially now that Sharpedo has 80 on it. Rage is a factor. Rage will do quite a bit of damage, honestly, if Drew doesn't just knock it out right now. So Drew's going to put 2 fire on the active. He's actually going to retreat to his other Typhlosion, I'm not sure I really like this. I don't know if there's any real point to it. The difference between Audino knocking out the Typhlosions was actually not any different. With 50 damage on Typhlosion, you would need 3 heads with Audino for a knockout. The same still holds true. Basically, all Drew did there was take away 2 energy off his field. So I'm not sure why he did that, but it's all going to come down to this Audino, I think. Can Audino take down a Typhlosion? Because then I gotta think AJ's going to pull out a win. He's only got to take 1 more prize after that. This is really getting scary for Drew. I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe a Super Rod. We'll wait for AJ to finish that and go from there. Looks like he's putting 3 cards back in. So yeah, 2 Darks and a Weavile go in his deck. That was a Super Rod. Allows you to shuffle any combination of 3 basic energy or Pokemon cards back into your deck. Let's see, we have a Seeker. Drew picks up a Reshiram, and AJ will reuse the Seeker, finding an energy. Of course, he did just put 2 Dark Energy back in his deck, so those will be in there. Now at this point, I gotta be thinking AJ's going for the powerful Slap. He really doesn't have much of a hand, to be honest, but I'm not sure what the last card is. Haven't been able to see it. It's a Zoroark. He's got 0 energy in his hand. Here we go, powerful Slap. This is gonna be big. This might be for the game if he gets 3 heads. It's 1, 2, no, just 2 heads. He's gonna go for it all. He's gonna reflip. If he gets 3, looks like there's 1. Not enough. Just 1. So reflipping once again makes it worse for him. And now Drew's got to be feeling like he's got a shot. He's got 2 Typhlosions out. AJ doesn't have too many threats on his board. You know, his whole deck was designed to shut Drew down in the early game. And once Drew gets set up, his attackers really can't compete with Typhlosion and Reshiram. Drew's kind of rushing himself, trying to make a comeback here. He doesn't want to run out of time. He's going to retreat to Reshiram. Now AJ does have a 0 card hand, so this is perfect spot for Drew. He really has complete control now. AJ's going to be scrambling to get anything. And oh, he top decks a double colorless. Wow, that's going to be a blue flare. All of a sudden AJ's down to 1 prize. And this is scary, scary stuff for Drew. I mean, he is 1 more top deck away from losing the game. Only 1 prize for AJ. If AJ were to top deck a supporter and get another Zoroark and a double colorless, this game is going to be over. But I would definitely say Drew's still the favorite to win the game. Gonna be close though. Definitely on the razor's edge for Drew. If AJ gets a top deck here, if he gets one more miracle, he's gonna win and move on to the finals. But as things look the way they are now, I gotta think Drew is in control. There's no way for AJ to avoid Reshiram blue flaring him for the next few turns. He's gonna take a long, hard look at the field and see, uh-oh, this is not looking good. Puts a Dark onto Zoroark, retreats to his unknown, just so he can keep his Weavile for the free retreat and pass. And we'll see what Drew's got. Doesn't have a whole lot of cards left in his deck. He did use a lot of catchers early on, which is a problem. So he's actually going to retreat his Reshiram, realizing that Zoroark can blue flare and knock that out. So he's going to attack with Typhlosion, who is actually safe from any sort of blue flare shenanigans. Let's see what he's doing. Looks like he's playing a collector, not really getting anything though. Now at this point, I don't see a catcher in Drew's hand, so this is definitely the right thing to do. Flare Destroy, Knockout Unknown, making it harder for AJ to actually win. Now he needs a catcher, a Zoroark, and an energy to win the game. It's still possible though. This game is not over. As long as that Zoroark is there, this game is not over. Those Reshirams on the bench are free prizes, and uh-oh, there's a double colorless. So now we were just a Zoroark and a catcher away from a win from AJ. And now we do see a plus power out of Drew. He's gonna Communication Ninetales into his deck and not take anything. So This is getting really close. This would be quite a comeback on Drew's side. He was down 3 or 4 prizes, I believe. And now he's just starting to mount the comeback. AJ ran out of stuff. And we do see Drew just powering up whatever he can. Plays a max potion to heal 60 off of a Typhlosion. And there we go. Flare Destroy, knockout Weavile because of that plus power. And this is it. This is the final turn. AJ actually promotes Victini. He might have a switch in his hand. Did he top deck anything? No, it doesn't look like it. So, oof, Drew escapes. Barely escapes from that game. We do see there were plenty of supporters in AJ's deck, along with a Zoroark and a catcher. So that could have gone either way. But he did not get the miracle top deck he needed, and Drew will take a very close game 2. We're going to move on to an exciting game 3 to see who moves on to the finals at the Hilliard, Ohio City Championships, and we will be right back.